Hi everyone. So in the last two videos, I talked about why emotional intelligence will decide who thrives in the AI economy and how it will play a key role in the upcoming job market. But emotional intelligence at work does not emerge randomly. It's not something that you can download through a course. And it's definitely not just communication skills. At least that much I've cleared up in the previous videos. Emotional intelligence, especially at work, develops from a very particular way of thinking. It's the kind of thinking that can connect the dots across multiple domains. When your mind can connect logic, emotion, and context at the same time. And when your mind can assess the future impact of an action. In research, this is called integrative thinking. And the mind that consistently operates this way is what I call the Wise Generalist. This is not a person who knows everything, but someone who can hold multiple perspectives at once and think beyond just short-term gains and losses. And in the age of AI, this will become a clear business requirement. Because companies now need people with ethical judgment who can evaluate AI outputs objectively, question its assumptions, and make decisions with it responsibly. So in today's video, that's exactly what we will be discussing. What exactly is the Wise Generalist mindset? Why the job market will demand this mindset more in an AI-driven economy? And why this way of thinking is the foundation from which real emotional intelligence emerges. All of these three questions will be answered one by one in the practical, profitable, and purposeful lenses. And you will see how this mindset will become a turning point in the overall job market. Let's begin. Let's take a concrete example to understand what a Wise Generalist mindset actually is. Across industries, as AI adoption is accelerating, the biggest challenge that the organizations are facing is not technical. The challenge is that they have to balance the following three things at the same time: rapid and ambitious AI deployment, sustainability and long-term risk, and employee trust, engagement, and retention. Consulting firms like BCG and McKinsey have repeatedly said that the organizations can usually optimize one or sometimes even two of them, but very rarely all three at the same time. Because the demands of each of these goals pulls you into very different directions. AI is being trained for speed and efficiency. Sustainability is asking for long-term impact and responsible decision making. And employees or people are looking for security, fairness, and a sense of purpose, especially as AI is reshaping the workplaces. And this is where the Wise Generalist is needed. Because this is not a person who's the most technical person in the room. This is a person who can integrate technical insight, business strategy, and frontline reality to arrive at one clear decision. Secondly, this is someone who asks the following question: if we optimize for speed and efficiency, is there any larger environmental impact that can increase the costs later? And finally, someone who can spot ethical failures and long-term risks that can become compliance issues for the organization. The ability to hold ambition, sustainability, and human realities in the same decision frame is what is called integrative thinking. And this is what the Wise Generalist does. And this kind of integrative thinking lays the foundation for emotional intelligence. Integrative thinking is the thinking pattern. Emotional intelligence is the behavioral expression that emerges from that thinking pattern. And this is what the wise generalist mindset is. That's why you will see the following job roles emerging, like transformational lead, AI ethics officer or AI governance lead, responsible AI program manager, data ethics and policy specialist, and AI risk and compliance manager. Now let's look at why this mindset will become economically essential in an AI-driven economy. Now let's forget theory for a moment. Let's look at what market is already paying for. Some of the fastest growing and highest paying roles in AI-driven industries today are not purely technical roles. Remember those positions that I talked about in the last section? These roles in major markets today sit comfortably between $130,000 to $200,000 range, sometimes much higher at senior roles. Now ask yourself a logical question. Do you really think that the companies would be paying this much only for technical skills now? Especially when AI is taking up execution heavy work. No. All of these roles require something that AI cannot do. Judgment. So companies now need people who can make judgment calls about what should be built, how it should be deployed, what kind of risks need to be managed before scaling, and how innovation in the AI age aligns with long-term sustainability. And when AI is involved, the stakes multiply. Because AI is in a nascent stage. Any small mistake does not actually stay small. It scales instantly. That's why companies pay a premium for people who can connect across domains. Because in an AI economy, production is abundant now. What is scarce is sound judgment. So if your value is limited to one narrow technical niche, then AI will eventually compete with you there. But if you can combine domains like technology, business, people, ethics, and sustainability, then you become harder to replace and easier to sustain and promote. Because now you don't just execute tasks, you shape the direction of the organization. This is why the wise generalist is not just a philosophical idea. It's a market reality today. And you cannot develop this kind of judgment or the wise generalist mindset without becoming an emotionally intelligent person. Research across leadership, decision making, and behavioral science consistently shows that this level of judgment depends on emotional intelligence. You cannot separate the two. Okay, so now that we've talked about the job market and the money, let's go a level deeper. When your work decisions affect technology, people, and long-term systems at the same time, you're not just building products, you're shaping consequences. And this is where purpose enters the picture. The wise generalist mindset forces you to ask, is this decision aligned only with efficiency? Or is it aligned with long-term sustainability and responsibility? And it's not just from a moral superiority standpoint. It's about seeing the wider impact of your decisions. Because the higher you rise in influence, the more your decisions stop being personal and start affecting society at large. And if you do not develop the capacity to hold multiple perspectives, like technical, human, environmental, and ethical, then you will either default to speed or to profit, or you will outsource judgment entirely to systems. Also, purpose in a modern context is not about being idealistic. It's about being conscious of impact. And that level of consciousness requires emotional intelligence. It requires the ability to regulate your ego. And this is why the Wise Generalist is not just economically valuable. It's a new way of working and how the job roles and their responsibilities are evolving in the AI era. And in the AI age, responsibility is power. So, time to look at all the three P's together. Practically, we saw what the Wise Generalist looks like inside organizations. Profitably, we saw why the market is already paying a premium for judgment. And purposefully, we saw how this mindset changes the level of responsibility you operate at. When these three align, that balance is what creates sustainable growth for companies, for careers, and for the planet. The future of the job market will consistently ask you to take responsibility. And that responsibility only comes from emotional intelligence. And in the AI age, that may be the most valuable intelligence left. As always, the research studies used in this video are linked down below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep building a better you.